Everybody, welcome to this brand new episode by Jargon World, where we would be discussing a very important topic, which is the trade receivables ratio. Before starting, let's take me down to a busy street in India, where you must have seen these images on the local kirana shops or small shopkeepers, where they don't encourage, the habit of giving materials on credit. So it is credit is seen as something that can take you out of business. So we'll discuss this in much detail, and let's get started. So we'll first start with the definition of this trade receivables ratio, and it simply means that the days it takes for your business to get the material that I have sold, and the number of days that you take to get the receipt of those materials. So you would wonder that I purchase some materials on cash, so what is the need of this ratio? So not all instruments work on cash. Some businesses you have to deal with some sort of a delayed payment, so to run their business on time. So this is where this important ratio kicks in. So let's move to the formula next. So the formula is pretty simple. We take the trade receivables at the beginning and the end of the year, and we just take an average of it to cancel the seasonality effect that is there within the whole year. And then we calculate the ratio. Ratio is simply the sales made on credit and the average trade, that is receivables, that we derive from this particular section. And to calculate the receivable days in receivables in days, we just divide the ratio by 365, which is the number of days in a year. And now we'll take a very basic example to understand why we should be even bothering about this particular ratio. So we have taken a hypothetical, we have taken this person running a cloud kitchen, and he has made these sort of supplies to these companies on credit. And this is his receivables at the start and the beginning of the year. So we'll calculate for this happy thing what is his trade receivable. So we'll first calculate the ratio. So net credit purchase would be just sum of all of these entries, and the trade receivable will be the average of these two entries. So it comes out to be 5. So if you divide 365 by 5, so Happy Singh basically gets his payment in 75 days, which is very long for a cloud kitchen. So it is just a hypothetical example. Please don't correlate it to the real world. So, and if you do want to correlate to the real world, we have a real world example for you. So we'll take a real world example of a company which we all are very familiar with, which is Dmart. And for Dmart, we have taken these reports from these sections from their annual report. And so this is the balance sheet which is of the last year, and here we'll take these. I've highlighted the ratios that we need to, or the figures that we need to look at. So the trade receivables is at the beginning, this would be the end of the year 393, and this would be at the beginning of the year 246, all the values in crores. Then we move on to the statement of profit and loss. So revenue from operations is something we would be looking at, which was 49,532 crores and for this year. And also in the note section they have mentioned how they calculate the trade receivables. So Dmart uses this formula, net credit sales by average trade receivable, and this is the trade receivable that they have calculated, and this is for the last year. So here, there is a catch here. We look deeply into the formula, we'll get to know about the trade receivables for Dmart. So now moving on to the trade receivables calculation. So on the left hand side, I have plugged in the formulas from the previous slide, and on the right hand side we'll just enter the values. So receivables, beginning of the year, end of the year, average. Receivables ratio 37,557. So the cash that I was mentioning to is this is the Dmart sales on credit. So if you remember, the actual sales was about 49,000 something. So there is an assumption that I have taken that when Dmart says 37,557 on credit, then the remaining 12,000 something is, or 11,000 something is on cash. So Dmart gets pure cash and they have not used it to calculate the trade receivables. So when we plug in all the values, we'll get the trade receivables ratio as 117 and the trade receivable days as 3 days. So 3 days is a very good time to get all your payments, because Dmart, if you have gone to a shop, you'll see that customer either pay on cash or they pay through credit cards, and this means that Dmart takes on an average of 3 days to settle its payments from the merchants of the credit card companies. So I have specifically mentioned the assumption that I have taken. So 11,975 crores to be specific is what Dmart got in cash, and if this assumption is correct, then about 25% of their net sales Dmart gets on cash, which is a very very good number for any business. And by the way, these numbers are based on an assumption, so that is a disclaimer that I would want to provide. So now we'll move to another company in this segment, which is Spencer's Retail, the same grocery retail segment. So here same, the trade receivables. This is the beginning of the year. This is the end of the year. This is the beginning of the year. Values in lakhs. Annual report of last year. The revenue from operations. So there's a difference between the two companies. Spencer's assumes all of its operations from while calculating on credit. So we'll just carry forward the same methodology, left hand side formulas, plugging in the values. So trade receivable, we get similar. Dmart was 3.11, it was 3.86. So on an average in India, the merchant companies, credit card merchant companies, take about 3 to 4 days to settle the payments. So now that we have seen both of the aspects, we'll now go to what are the benefits and advantages, why we should look at the trade receivables ratio. So here is a comparison between Dmart and Spencer's, and we'll go to the advantages or the features of this particular ratio. So the first is working capital management. So you get cash from the customers to fund your daily operations. So we saw that they get a lot of cash, and even if they don't get cash, they get payments within 3 days. So basically your working capital is being funded by the customers, because on an average you pay to the customers you pay to your suppliers on a much later date. So suppose Dmart gets his payment from 3 days, on Spencer's in 3.86 or 4 days. So it is not that they immediately pay for the material to the suppliers. They have a credit cycle for this. This will cover in a separate video where you'll understand this particular phenomena in detail. And this second feature of it is low trade write-off. So when you get when, as you saw in the first image itself, आज नगद कल उधार, और उधार मांग के हमें शर्मिंदा न करें. So Indian mindset or Indian business mindset has always been that we want to operate on cash, or even if we don't operate on cash, we want assured payment. हम पे भरोसा नहीं है, और you don't trust us. These lines don't work anymore. So now moving on to the next aspect is risk management. So early payment, cash payment, or maybe payment within 3 days ensures that you don't default. When you don't have defaulting customers, you won't default to your suppliers. So that whole ecosystem is benefited because of this very quick turnaround days. And the last is cash, is because you need the underlying the underlying operating phenomena of a business is it operates to make money. So if you don't get money from your business, the business will eventually take some sort of a downturn or something. So you need cash to function your day-to-day operations. So these were the features. So if you are a repeat audience for this particular series, you'll know that this is the second video of the 4 video series. So if you have been to this section, please, I would sincerely thank you for being a part of this video, and would request you to look at the other 2 videos as well, so that you can understand this particular if this business vertical, the retail FMCG section, or maybe the whole inventory management itself, through the 3 videos. So please like, share and subscribe if you like this video series, and do stay tuned for the other 2 videos in this series. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye.